Hey guys, in this video I'll be comparing 2024 New York Pro Martin Fitzwater and 2023 Olympia Derek Lunsford. I haven't really seen many people doing this comparison, however from a fan perspective I've noticed a lot of similarities between these two. Both are shorter guys who have great tight and controlled waistlines, lackluster arm separation from the front, great backs, and ridiculously conditioned lower halves. Of course, they are two different competitors with their own strengths and weaknesses, which is why I wanted to do this comparison. I'll not only be using video footage for the analysis, but also photoshopped pictures in order to assess minute details that may go unseen. Now, before the video does start, a like and sub would be much appreciated as it helps out the channel tremendously. With that all being said though, let's get into this video. The front double is a shot where the similarities present themselves immediately. Both have similarly shaped rib cages and super small waists, subpar arm conditioning and lackluster arm wow factor, great flared lats, and impressive silhouettes. For the differences, it is rather apparent that Martin is more conditioned and dry in the chest and presents more vascularity overall. His quads also appear more deeply cut and he has a harder, drier look to his entire physique. Derek looks good, not nearly as vascular or dry in the arms or quads, but still has great separation in general. Here's a second look, and ignore the poor cutout for Derek in certain areas like the lats, mainly focus on the conditioning. You can see that his quads are nicely cut and separated, his midsection is well defined, and he looks good overall. However, his arms look lackluster next to Martin's, and his quads are barely swept at all. Although I am a huge fan of Derek's waist and X-frame, Martin brings a better package of conditioning, pop, and wow factor, and has better quads. I also don't feel as though he falls short in the torso either, presenting a very impressive X-frame himself. I'd definitely go with Martin for the win, however, they are most certainly close. The front lat spread isn't the best shot for either of them, probably due to their shorter statures, making them look rather stout and compact. Regardless, neither of them present the best set of lats in the pose, nor tons of mass. Derek does appear more impressive in areas like the delts and arms, while Martin has the advantage downstairs and in the chest. The midsections are roughly even between the two, with both possessing great control and solid detail. This side-by-side photo shows you that Derek definitely has a size advantage over Martin, particularly in the upper body. Although it's hard to pinpoint an exact area where Derek is larger, you can just tell that he is more filled out. Whether it be posing or tangible size differences in the arms, lats, and delts, Derek just looks flat out larger. Speaking of flat though, his chest and outer quads do look rather flat, two areas that Martin definitely exposes Derek in. While I do like Martin's fullness and extreme detail, Derek is undeniably better from a mass standpoint and isn't often conditioning by any means, so therefore he would win the pose. The side chest is another alright pose for these two, nothing too standout or crazy. I will say that I instantly noticed that Martin looks sharper, probably due to his more uniform hardness and conditioning, or due to the fact that the lighting was miles ahead at the New York Pro. He also appears so detailed in areas like the midsection, and definitely more controlled in that area than Derek as well, and the far pec and the arm are also very detailed, which do expose Derek's softer upper body overall. Now, Derek does battle back though, doing solid damage downstairs, with his tremendous size, and the detail of the side leg is also very impressive. This second look will show you that Derek has comparable size downstairs, while having double the detail, which would mean that he wins the side leg with ease. The upper bodies are definitely a toss-up, as Derek is more filled out, while Martin has sleeker lines and better total conditioning. Interestingly, Derek seems to have a better, larger chest, not from a thickness perspective, but from a surface area standpoint. While he may not be as conditioned, he is larger in the delt, thicker in the arm, and has a better side leg, so it's definitely close. Martin does outclass Derek upstairs, while Derek does the same to Martin in the side leg. Now, from my perspective, I'd probably say that Martin has the better head-to-toe conditioning and more polish, which would defeat the slightly larger, softer Derek. But then again, Derek is really large and massive, so this one's definitely close, and do let me know down below who you would pick. The rear double is where the similarities arise once again, as these two both have incredible lower bodies with deep separation and clean cuts, great detailed and full backs, and similarly shaped arms. Once again, Martin stands out due to the lighting and pop that he has, while Derek hides in the shadows, concealing his immense size and conditioning. Here, now that Derek is out of the darkness, we can see that he has so much intricate detail and separation and mass on that back. Both have been compared to Phil Heath in this pose, and for good reason, as both possess that 3D quality in the back. Derek is definitely more developed though, especially in the width of the lats, trap density, and lower back thickness. However, Martin is a bit rounder, but not as dense. Martin does have the superior set of hamstrings, making Derek's look amateur-esque in comparison, while Derek has such deeply separated glutes. Overall, this pose would definitely go to Derek solely for the back. However, Martin definitely has the tools and possibly better genetic gifts to create a world-class pose. Unlike the rear double, the rear lat spread is a rather ugly shot for Derek. He doesn't really open up the same way, and the darkness of the video footage obscures his physique even more. In contrast, Martin's physique really shines, not for having any additional muscle, but for the perfect lighting and polish that he has. Even his glutes now appear similarly separated to Derek's, and his back, while not the densest or most defined, is similar in width, and he has solid detail overall. Now, this clearer, brighter image shows you that Derek isn't nearly as bad as the video footage portrays him, as here his back showcases so much thickness and dry conditioning. While he isn't much wider than Martin, he has the mass and development to bully him upstairs and convincingly win in the back. Downstairs is much closer, with Martin's package drawing my eyes more than Derek's, so I'd probably give Martin the slightest advantage in the legs. For the overall pose though, Derek is not only larger and more impressively conditioned in the back, but he also ever so slightly loses the legs, meaning that his pure dominance in the back alone gets him the win. The side tricep is a good pose for these two, but nothing special. Neither of them have the best tricep in size or insertions, and they aren't the most aesthetically pleasing guys either. Interestingly, for having one of the best midsections out there, Derek looks rather awful in the side tricep. Not only does it look thick and protrudes, but his abs are also barely defined and his upper body has a soft quality. Martin looks a bit better, having a much more controlled and defined midsection. However, his arm and delt aren't nearly as large as Derek's, nor does he have that thickness of Derek either. In this second look, I guess Derek looks a bit better, however, I'm not really a fan of this shot. While he may have more size, that also translates to the midsection, which has zero detail and is a bit watery. Now, I do admire the detail and conditioning of his side leg, and certain areas like his delt and tricep do look dry and detailed, but that being said, I just can't reward a softer, less refined physique and punish a guy like Martin who looks objectively better. If you prefer mass and the size of Derek, that's fine. However, Martin's clean lines, similar density, and better detail are all things that stand out to me, leading to a win for Martin. The ab and thigh, or rather vacuum and thigh for Derek, is a great pose for these two. Now, I know many of you are sticklers for Derek hitting the vacuum as opposed to the crunch down variation. However, I'm a fan solely for what it stands for. I believe that bodybuilding is all about presenting your physique in the best way through posing, and Derek does just that. You know, he does have a decent set of abs, but the vacuum does create the illusion of a jaw-dropping V-taper, which is complemented by his flaring lats, and I just really appreciate that. Now, Martin does look phenomenal here too, presenting nicely separated and full quads, deeply cut abs, and a surprisingly smaller midsection. This clear shot shows you that Derek might just pull ahead here, as his V-taper is too good and his quads don't look bad at all. While some of you may point out the lumps in his lats, I'd say that if he wasn't penalized at the Olympia, then he isn't going to be knocked down here either. I do agree that they are an eyesore and detract from the aesthetics that he has. However, I don't think they are as bad as angular delts, dented quads, or pointy elbows, which many guys get away with. Although Martin does have the better set of quads, a chiseled waist, and good taper, Derek's silhouette and mass are too much, and his good enough conditioning shuts the door on Martin. The last pose, the most muscular, is an underrated pose for Martin and a rather unimpressive one for the reigning champion. Martin has all this ridiculous detail and greebling on his physique, which draws your attention to all the individual muscles. Derek, on the other hand, barely has any separation anywhere upstairs, and that horrible lighting isn't helping either. While Derek does have great shape and size, I feel like Martin is outdoing him in the conditioning alone. This second and final look shows you that, even with better lighting, Derek still looks soft. Just compare the chest or arms and you'll see an immediate night and day difference. I'm not trying to hate on Derek or anything, however, Martin looks outstanding and should be praised for the physique that he has. body part for body part, Martin just looks flat out better. I mean, take a look at the arms, chest, delts, legs, midsection, all of which he may not have the most size, but the refinement and conditioning that he has, coupled with his great flow, are definitely enough to defeat Derek. Alright guys, that's it for this comparison. In short, I had this one ending in a 4-4 tie, however poses like the side chest, side tricep, ab and thigh, and front double are definitely up for debate. In reality, if Derek were on stage next to Martin with all variables equal, I have no doubt that the size disparity in conditioning would be much different. That being said, considering how far Martin was able to push Nick Walker at the New York Pro, I was not surprised to see just how well he fared against Derek. Ultimately though, Derek pulled ahead by a lot from the back itself, having so much size and thickness, and will evidently come in better at the 2024 Olympia, or at least I hope he does. It'll definitely be interesting to see how these two stack up in person. However, with that all being said, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.